Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Well, some developments on the front, and it comes from the Russian side according to the Ukrainian side, so it must be true. And what's going on? The Russians are shuffling, regrouping troops on three fronts. I wonder what they're gonna do there. What's the goal? Oh well, I think the Ukrainians will let us know, honestly. So this article comes from Ukrainska Pravda from today, November 26, 2022. Russian army regroups to reinforce units on three fronts, General Staff reports. On day 276 of the full-scale war, Russian troops have been regrouping in order to reinforce units on the Lyman, Avdiivka and Novopavlivka fronts. Now, those fronts are the only fronts that I'm aware of where Russian army or the auxiliaries or the Russian forces, let's put it this way, they are conducting offensive operations. Three: Avdiivka, Novopavlivka and Bakhmut. And this is Lyman here. Hope something showed up Lyman. Source. The source is the operational information of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine as of 1800 on Saturday, 26 November. That's 6 p.m. Here it must have been about, I don't know, 10 a.m., 11 a.m. I don't know exactly. It's 8 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours. The enemy has been carelessly striking civilian targets. Okay, that goes without saying. It is focusing its efforts on deterring the actions of defense forces units, conducting engineering work on defensive lines and positions, and continuing offensive operations in certain areas. It is trying to make up for losses of personnel, weapons, ammunition, equipment, fuel, and lubricants. What kind of lubricants, may I ask? The enemy continues to regroup its troops to reinforce units in the Lyman, Avdiivka and Novopavlivka fronts. During the last 24 hours, the invaders have inflicted 2 rocket attacks on civilian targets, goes without saying, in the city of Dnipro, and carried out 4 attacks from multiple launch rocket systems on armed forces positions and settlements. Can't believe that one. I have to read it again. Has to stick in my little box here. 4 attacks from multiple launch rocket systems on armed forces positions. Wow. And settlements. That's new. On the Volyn, Polisia and Sivershnya front, there have been no significant changes in the situation, and there are no signs of Russian offensive groups forming. On the Slobozhanskaya front, the Russians continue to maintain groups of their troops in the border area of Belgorod Oblast, Russian Federation. The invader deployed an attack UAV near Avdiivka, Kharkiv Oblast. On the Kupiansk front, the invaders are mounting an active defense. Okay, on the Lyman front, the main efforts are focused on offensive operations. So we got Lymansk now. Okay, no Bakhmut, I don't see here any Bakhmut yet. Oh, here, Bakhmut is going to be the next paragraph with Avdiivka. So, I haven't heard Lyman. Lyman is the first time when I hear that they have offensive operations. As I said, it was Bakhmut, Avdiivka and Novopavlivka. And now it came Lyman, so now we're going to have 4. So on the Lyman front, the main efforts are focused on offensive operations, firing from mortars and tube and rocket artillery, particularly in and around the settlements of Berestove, Kupiansk, Kotlyrivka, Tabivka and Krokhmanlene in Kharkiv Oblast. And then gives about 5 more in Luhansk Oblast and Terny and Raihorodok in Donetsk Oblast. They deployed an attack UAV near Berestove. Now, on the Bakhmut and Avdiivka fronts, the Russians are trying to continue conducting offensive operations. Now, if these guys report that, multiply it by 2 or 3, 3 and up, I would say, okay, how bad things are, if they mention it. They carried out various types of artillery attack in and around the settlements of Bilohorivka, Soledar, Bakhmutske, Bakhmut, Opitnia, Avdiivka, Pervomaiske, Krosobababi, Bububababa in Donetsk Oblast. They carried out airstrikes near the village of Avdiivka. A Russian attack UAV was deployed in the New York area, New York State, on the Novopavlivka and Zaporozhye oblasts. The Russians are conducting defensive actions using mortars and tubed and rocket artillery. They shelled the areas of the settlements of Vuhledar and Zolota, Nivna and Vremivka in Donetsk Oblast, and about 10 in Zaporozhye, 10 settlements here. Then they carried out airstrikes on the districts of Vremivka, Donetsk Oblast, and Charivne, Zaporozhye Oblast. On the Kryvyi Rih and Kherson fronts, the Russian military continues to improve its fortification and logistical support for advance unit and positions. They're getting ready. The invaders continue to carry out artillery attacks on units of Ukrainian troops and settlements on the right bank of the Dnipro River. They used the entire range of artillery to shell the settlements of Kachikarvka, Chernovki Mayak, in Kherson Oblast, as well as the city of Kherson. In turn, during the last 24 hours, units of the rocket forces and artillery of the defense forces of Ukraine have hit a command post, 9 clusters of Russian personnel, weapons and military equipment, and another significant facility of the invaders. No civilians. Can you believe that? I can't. Anyway, I cannot. Let's put it this way. So this is the way it goes. I haven't read anything about tanks. Did you? Did you hear anything about tanks? No? Why not? Before today, which was yesterday and the day before yesterday, whenever the Ukrainians were reporting Russian advancing troops, they mentioned tanks. This area was offensive, but they attacked here, advanced here. They used tube, artillery, this, plus tanks. When it was not an offensive, no tanks mentioned. No tanks were mentioned in this little article. So that's one thing. And we find that the Russians obviously always goes with hitting civilians and killing civilians like a candy. It always has something sweet in it. The same here. When you get a candy, must be sweet. The same here with this. When Russians attack, must be killing civilians. That's the first one. And there's the flavor. Sometimes they do this, sometimes they miss, sometimes they blow themselves up, things like this. But it's always civilians, which could be very possible. I don't know if it's probable, but possible. And when they talk about the Ukrainians talking about their attacks, never talk about their blowing up civilians on the other side. Nah, doesn't happen. I don't know why. I wonder. Do you have the answer? Anyway, this is it. Regrouping for what? For offensive activities. And we got Lyman, now the 3 other ones. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.